do you see a frequent strings of attack against Indian businessmen? Adani and Ambani and all the big businessmen are being attacked. It's a natural or organic criticism, or do you think there is something larger perspective here, or something that meets more than the eye?
Look, for any country to do well, you need private commercial activities to take the forefront. The government, the state, cannot be expected to take care of all sectors and do development in all sectors. You have the state-backed enterprises, public sector organizations, PSUs and so on, that typically in the socialist past of India used to take care of all the sectors: coal mining, this, that, electricity, everything. But when you are a government entity, it's not your money that's at stake. So you don't have that urgency for business efficiency and so on. And that's why it's very important for the private sector to become Atmanirbhar, for Atmanirbhar Bharat. And the private sector, it typically is far more efficient in doing business than the public sector. And it has the potential to give tremendous numbers of jobs to people, to create infrastructure, to create interconnectivity, and so much more. So therefore, if a foreign country wants to contain you, it makes sense for them to go after the few industries or the few corporations that are aligned with your national interest and are creating infrastructure and jobs that will bolster your economy and also bolster national security, interconnectivity, and so much more, strategic autonomy. And therefore, it is not surprising that Adani, etc., have been targeted in whatever way they have been. And is this all organic? It definitely is not organic, right? Because otherwise they would target other industries also. Why is Tata not targeted, for example? Tata sells automobiles, Tata does other things as well. Why are the Tata group not targeted? Why are certain other businesses not targeted? Why are Birlas, Mahindra, etc. not targeted, but only some of them are targeted? It's because they are aligned with India's national interest, and which we can discuss in detail. So it's definitely not organic. You will have lots of influencers in India targeting, for example, Adani, right? Adani ye, Adani wo, Modani, etc. They create the narrative. You will have lots of journalists and media outlets targeting these entities. You will have academics targeting them. You will have potentially, perhaps, some politicians in India targeting them. It's definitely not organic. It is all orchestrated. It is all definitely coordinated in order to erode the public's trust in these commercial ventures and corporations that are aligned with the national interest.
And how do you see USA case, bribery case against Adani? The Adani group has called all the allegations against them baseless, but it seems to be sticking with some of the population of India. And criticism comes from that side that Adani pays to the central government and gets central projects, airports, ports, everything is being handled to him. Okay. At a cheap cost.
Yeah. So let's discuss this case in detail. There have been allegations against the Adani group, right? There was the Hindenburg allegations. I think it was in early 2023. And then there was a US federal court that opened a case against Adani sometime late in 2024. So the Hindenburg group, which later disappeared, they shut down, yeah, because their job was done apparently. So their allegations were of stock manipulation, crony capitalism, whatever that means, right? And the US federal court has alleged that Adani group is bribing the government of India millions of dollars for whatever benefits and so on. Now, so the Security and Exchanges Board of India has done an investigation. I think just last month or so, they said that none of the allegations are valid.
SEBI has given a clean chit.
And apparently some other investigations are still ongoing, but the clean chit has been given after extensive investigations. Now the question is, why is Adani in specific being targeted in this manner? Let's understand what Adani represents for India. Okay? The Adani group has various businesses, most of the overwhelming majority of which are not public facing, right? See, in case, if you ask the people of India about Tata, they know Tata Motors. We buy cars from them. So we know what Tata does. If you think about Reliance Jio, yeah, we buy Jio products from Reliance. If you think about Apple, we have a cell phone. If you talk about Samsung cell phones and various products. But what does Adani do? Nobody understands. Let me explain what Adani does. Okay, the Adani group is involved in various sectors which are all critical to India's national security and geopolitical stance and ambitions. First of all, ports. The Adani group operates at least 13 ports on both coastlines of India, the east coast and west coast. And these ports cumulatively account for about a quarter of India's cargo. A quarter of India's cargo. And because the Adani Group, it's the largest private port operator in India. And this gives India tremendous leverage. It ensures that India's national security, maritime security is taken care of. It ensures that India is integrated with various trade routes. The Mundra port, it gets more than 200 million metric tons every year of cargo, inward and outbound. It ensures that India is connected to the West Asian, Middle Eastern markets, and India also has tremendous, connection with the African markets and African resources. It is vital for India's national security. The port operations, the Haifa port that Adani operates, it is in the northern part of Israel. That has ensured that there is a strategic synergy between India and Israel. It gives India it gives India the ability to project power beyond the Indian Ocean region, in the Mediterranean region, the Eastern Mediterranean and overall Mediterranean region. It is a vital component of the IMEC, India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, which is a vital challenger to China's Belt and Road Initiative, right? A vital alternative to China's Belt and Road Initiative. Without the Haifa port that Adani controls, how will we do it? The Adani Group controls about 51% of the West container terminal of the Colombo port, which is an incredibly vital transshipment port that serves the entire Indian subcontinent, not just India, but Pakistan, Bangladesh, etc. And this is a direct alternative to the Chinese investments and the Chinese acquisitions of other container terminals in the same port. Imagine China controls the entire ports, all the terminals. They can deny access to India of all the transshipments that we need whenever required. Right, so we need these alternatives. We need to control these things. The Dar es Salaam port in Tanzania, Adani Group it controls the major container terminal of the Dar es Salaam port in Tanzania. This is a pivotal port in East Africa. It has connectivity with all the landlocked nations like Congo, Rwanda, etc. in the region, through roads, through railways, and it gives India access to the African markets and the vital African resources that we need. Africa accounts for about half of the world's resources. We need access to that. And this is a region in which China has tremendous geopolitical leverage. We need to balance that somehow, and we need to also have a foothold in these regions. So if you look at all the ports, the Adani Group is going to have a port in Vietnam as well, which will give India a strategic position in Southeast Asia, in the South China Sea, where China controls so much, and they want complete political control in the region. Then we have talked about the ports. What about energy? Adani Group is operating various thermal energy generation plants in India, coal-fired generation plants. It's India's largest private energy generator. Without energy, your economy won't run, right? So we need energy. We need private players to step up. The Adani Green branch of the Adani Power, they are India's largest alternative energy producers, solar and wind and so on. Chavda is one of the major projects that they are doing. So that not only gives us energy which will be increasing and more relevant in the long term, it also positions India as a responsible generator of energy. It also, because of the climate commitments that we have made, and it positions us as a very responsible nation. It bolsters our soft power. So through the coal generation plants, power generation plants, Adani Group is taking care of our immediate energy requirements. Through the green energy plants, we are taking care of our long-term energy requirements, right? The Adani Group is building railways, hundreds of kilometers of railways that connect very important things: the ports, the mines, and the business centers, which increases economic efficiency in India, right? So whatever the Adani Group is doing, for example, mines, once again we're talking about, in Australia, they have the Carmichael mine, which faced tremendous resistance in protests. I mean, the Chappell brothers got involved in the protests. Greg Chappell and Ian Chappell. Greg Chappell, the infamous former coach of the Indian national team, who created so much trouble for India. So they got involved in this protest, and they wanted to shut this mining operation down. So, but by doing this mining operation, we are strategically integrating ourselves with the Australian economy, which is great for the two nations. the Adani Group has a power generation plant in Jharkhand, which supplies about 10% of Bangladesh's electricity, which creates interoperability between the two countries, which integrates Bangladesh into the Indian electric supply, which also gives India leverage over Bangladesh. Hydroelectric plants in Bhutan and Nepal, these are viable alternatives to existing and future Chinese investments in these nations. China wants to break out these nations from the Indian sphere. So if we have these investments in these countries, which will produce electricity and give them local solutions to their problems, then it once again creates interoperability with India. It enhances our neighborhood first policy, which is a vital component of our foreign policy. And the plants, and for example, hydroelectric power supply projects in for example, Indonesia, in Vietnam, which may happen in the future, these will once again be a significant component of our Act East policy. So if you look at everything the Adani Group is doing, it is strategically aligned with India's strategic interests, with our national security. The Adani Group produces arms, ammunition, weapons, more than 150 million rounds of small arms ammunition, which is critical to our defense industry. The Adani Group produces loitering munitions, kamikaze drones, which were used in Operation Sindoor in cooperation with Israel, in partnership with an Israeli company, because of which we have technology transfer, because of which we have local arms manufacturing in India. The Adani Group produces components related to fighter planes, to helicopters, to submarines, so much more. These things, none of these things are public facing.
Why do you think these two big businessmen continue to be the punching bag of the leader of opposition?
I don't know about the leader of opposition, but they
all the political parties.
Yeah.
They continue with, at the end of the day, it is being said, everything has been given to them. You have justified everything, explained everything, why they are so critical to India's growth. But why are both of them are the punching bag? Why not others?
So if we, let's say, create problems for these groups, and if their business operations end, then India loses all these advantages it has. India's national security suffers tremendously. India's control of critical trade networks, supply chains suffers, and maybe it disappears. India's port acquisitions go away, and then we are completely vulnerable to the Chinese and other major powers who will supply us what we need, but on their terms, and the supply will be capricious. So if the Adani Group is, destabilized, if all kinds of troubles are created for it, then India's strategic autonomy suffers, India's economy suffers, India's national security suffers, and these are the objectives of foreign powers who seek to encircle and contain India. So it makes tremendous sense to go after these, whichever businesses are aligned with our national interest. So it makes a lot of sense. I am not sure about what's happening in domestic politics. I don't comment about that. But maybe there may be some alignment there also with foreign powers. Potentially, I don't know. Hypothetically, allegedly.